Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner, everyone. I'm MJ, and in this video I want to show a different technique that I'm using for sculpting. And I'm actually making some figurines out of a very unlikely material. Forks and spoons, here we come. So for now I'm choosing very simple body forms before I move on to more complex stuff. All right, so we'll see if I could pull it off. All right, so check out the plesiosaur, the giant squid, and a head of coral for the game Deepwars, all made out of forks and spoons and knives, plastic knives. So let's check it out. Okay, so first things first are my materials, and I'm using for the squid 2 forks for the tentacles, and then 2 of the handles of the spoons for the bodies. And I will glue a pair of the handles that I already cut to the shape I want, and let the glue dry a bit before I start shaping. So my primary shaping tool is the Dremel, as you guys see here. I am wearing eye protection, always wear eye protection while doing this because shards of plastic go in every direction. But the Dremel is very useful to get the shapes the way I want them. And I have many different heads. Some of them are for carving, okay? But right now I'm just like shaping everything up. So I get a shape that I want, and then I add a third spoon handle, and then shape that. So for the tentacles, I put my tentacles in the forge, and this is kind of the setup that I'm going to be doing. Put them in the forge and bent them to shape. By applying heat, it gives them the shape that I need so they look like tentacles. I also bolt down my plastic with hot needles, which just traverse the entire setup, and it makes it a hell of a lot stronger. For the base of the eyes, I'm using little paper clip fasteners. And now you can see how I shape those tentacles. For the little fins on the side of the squid, I cut up some knives and just put them aside. Then I go back and I shape my tentacle base, make sure that it goes well with the body. Just give it a nice, filing so that it goes nice and flush with the body. To glue my little fins, I put some hot glue on it, and then later I take my Dremel and shape the fin a little bit. And the fins are also placed in the forge to bend them up. So there's the body of the squid with all the tentacles, a little bit more heat applied. And these are the jaws. This is 2 of them. I'm actually cutting 4 little pieces like this. So to do details on the tentacles, I actually go ahead and press my soldering iron very gently through the forks. And I try to make these suckers smaller as they go up the tentacle. Normally they have 2 rows of suckers as well, but for this one I just did 1 row. Okay, and I continue doing some details with the hot utensil here. So once I'm satisfied with the shapes, I give it a glance, make sure that I like the shapes, and I can always go back with more heat or whatever it needs in order to get the details the way I want them. Okay, there's a view of all the suckers and everything. Everything is working. Now I put a hole for the stand very carefully. Goes right into the plastic. And this is going to be for the little flight stand. Okay, Now for the eyes, I also put holes in for the, oh, I'm sorry, this is some of the detail on the other side of the tentacles. I wanted to show that. So for the eyes, I just made a hole and then added the little fasteners. And there it is on a flight stand. Okay, now the flight stand, we put it right through a plastic piece that I use as a base. That's a divider for one of those storage boxes. I just use the dividers for a base. And here I'm doing the flight stand, and I joined two pieces of fork so that it's a little longer. It was a little too short for me. So this is how I bond the forks. All right, so for the base, I take a bunch of fork and knife handles and whatever I can grab and just place them all together. And then with the heat, I start to actually carve up my rocks, and basically it'll, you know, to give it that sort of coral head detail, you know. So I just basically use the soldering iron and just sculpt it. I'm also wearing a mask here, and I have the fan blowing, which is why everything is muted. So, all right. And there you go. You can see how the plastic takes that texturing really nicely. Okay. And look at how the rocks turn out. And I can do all kinds of strange little details. This is a great technique for alien rocks, you know, or just rocks that you want to look very different. All right, so there's a view of all the detail. I turn the spoons into rocks. And this is a cool little coral head. With some more details, and for this I heat up my exacto blade in the forge. And I begin to carve in some details, and I'm going to be exploring this a lot because I really think that this will help me to actually make some cool little figures in the future. All right, so just some basic details, and I run it up and down the little around the eye. Just give it some scarring and whatever. So now I just use some red primer. It was the only primer I had. I usually do these in like a brown, but I did it in red, and then it's not going to be red. It's going to be like a lighter tan. So I'll do a dark tan base after this, and then a lighter tan with the airbrush. And there are the little jaws. You can see all four little jaws as I attached them earlier. So not a bad little piece. Now for the coral head was an interesting project. I took a spoon and then embedded all these forks and knives, and look at how when you use the heat source from the soldering iron, just look at how you can easily make detail. This process only took me about an hour to do the whole thing. By the way, the squid took about 45 minutes to make. This piece took longer only because there was a lot of details to add, but I can make holes, I can make all kinds of stuff. You know, so it's a very, very interesting technique for doing alien plants, for doing coral heads. I think this is going to be my standard coral making technique because it's really fast and it makes some really cool stuff. I am wearing a mask, by the way, so yeah, never inhale these fumes. That can be bad. So just look at how cool you can also do individual corals, and I like to use every part of the fork. So I use the handles, the tips, and I use the base of the fork teeth. This is what you see here. And I'm just decorating it to make an individual stony coral. And again, I really like this technique, and I can do very, very small terrain pieces, or I can do larger terrain pieces. So it gives me another reason to recycle forks. So now that the coral's finished, it goes on the opposite side, and the setup is looking really good. It's on cardboard, and I just have to add some stones and other details. Maybe a critter, right? Make another small critter with the forks, and that's it. So there's the plesiosaur. He was one of my favorite. These are the figures. There's the coral, so you can see all the details of the coral. There's the plesiosaur and the squid. All of these pieces were made by utilizing forks and spoons and, sculpting with that material. So not bad, not bad. It's not bad. This creates very simple figures. And there's the squid with his eyes. And the plesiosaur again. He was a little rough at this point. But there's a mermaid in the background. And that's it, folks. All right, so that is it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. This was an easy build, believe it or not. This took me maybe 2 hours and 30 minutes, approximately. Okay, a little longer because I haven't really painted them yet. I'm using my airbrush now to paint them, and I have to paint the squid. He's not painted. And once I paint the squid and I do the base of a different color, it's going to look pretty cool, I think. And these are simple proxies for the game Deepwars, but I'm going to try some really complicated things in the future, okay? So if you're interested in this technique, let me know in the comments, and there's definitely more coming because I see the potential to this technique, and not just for making figures, but for terrain as well. All right, folks, please consider supporting our Patreon if you'd like. And definitely thank you for all your likes and comments and so forth. So see you very soon, and till the next project.